She did not raise her voice, and she did not strike in anger. She only remembered, and nothing that crossed her path was never the same again. In the beginning, before law found language, and before mercy learned its name, there was a silence that did not comfort, but measured. A silence that observed, weighed, and preserved balance without appeal. And in that silence walked Artemis, not as conqueror, not as ruler, but as certainty given form. And she was not born into peace, and no god ever was. Her arrival came through pursuit and exile, through a mother's endurance and a sky that watched without pity. The earth did not celebrate her birth. It made space for her, and that was enough. She entered existence already awake to consequence, and where others learned through experience, she recognized pattern to pattern. Where others felt desire, she felt boundaries. Even as a child of the divine, she did not reach outward for possession. She reached inward for clarity. And clarity, once embraced, does not release its bearer easily. She chose distance not from fear, but from understanding. To belong is to be claimed. To be claimed is to be altered, and she would be neither. Her father offered honors, thrones, dominion over cities that would rise and fall in devotion, and she refused them all. But she asked instead for the wilderness, not as territory, but as responsibility. She asked for the bow, not as a weapon, but as an extension for intent. She was the companions who would stand. She wanted companions who would stand beside her without surrendering themselves. She asked for permanence of self, and permanence was granted through few understood the cost of such a gift. She moved into forests not yet named, valleys untouched by footsteps, mountains where wind had no witness. The natural world did not kneel before her. It acknowledged her. She was not its master. She was its awareness made visible. Where she stood, nothing pretended to be other than it was. Animals did not fear her, because fear is born of uncertainty, and she embodied certainty without threat. Predators recognized in her like a stillness more precise than instinct. Prey recognized her a presence beyond harm. She wasn't hunger, she wasn't safety. She was the law that allowed both to exist without collapse. Mortals would later call this balance divine, but balance itself has no need for worship. Her steps were soundless, not because she sought concealment, but because she moved in alignment with what already was. Leaves did not resist her, and water did not distort her reflection, and moonlight did not adorn her. It revealed her. She carried no ornament beyond necessity. The bow curved with elegance, not of decoration, but of purpose. The arrow once released, it did not wander, but rather fulfilled. It is often believed that forgiveness is a higher virtue than judgment, but forgiveness implies error overlooked. Judgment recognizes pattern preserved, and Artemis did not forgive because she did not confuse clarity with compassion. Compassion belongs to those who hope change is possible, but she did not oppose change. She enforced consequence, and consequence, once is realized, cannot be undone by desire. There was a hunter who entered her domain, believing skill granted exemption. He had pursued countless creatures, measured wind and distance with precision, and survived through confidence that hardened into certainty of superiority. When he crossed into the untouched grove where she stood, he did not recognize the difference between presence and possession. He saw beauty and he assumed access. No thunder warned him. No voice declared offense, and transformation unfolded as quietly as realization. The hunter became the hunted, not by cruelty, but by alignment. He experienced what he had imposed, not punishment, but reflection. He ran as he had forced others to run. He felt fear as he had created fear. And the forest did not change, but he did. And in that change, truth completed itself. Stories later describe this as wrath, but they misunderstood. Wrath burns uncontrolled, but her response was measured, exact, and inevitable. There was a queen who believed abundance proved superiority. She spoke of her children as evidence of divine favor, measuring worth through number, comparing herself to one who chose solitude. Pride seeks audience, and pride assumes immunity. Artemis did not debate, because debate presumes equality of perspective, but she revealed consequence. Loss entered the queen's life, not as chaos, but as balance restored. Not all at once, not with spectacle, but with certainty that could not be negotiated. Mortals would call this severity, yet what was removed had been used as comparison. What remained was truth without adornment. She did not act to defend her honor, because honor is internal and requires no protection, but she acted to preserve alignment where distortion threatened order. Many feared her because they sensed something unfamiliar in her nature, a being untouched by persuasion. Praise did not warm her, and blame did not harden her. She was beyond influence, because she was not divided within herself, because the world is shaped by negotiation. But she was not, and that was made her different, because even among the divine, her presence altered behavior. Gods who reveled in conquest found no leverage in her. Gods who sought alliance found no need in her, and she did not resist them. She simply existed without offering entry. Independence unsettles those who rely on exchange. She moved through cycles of moonlight, not as symbol, but as rhythm embodied. The waxing glow did not empower her. The waning shadow did not diminish her. She remained constant while appearances shifted around her. To mortals, this constancy became myth. To her, it was simply existence without contradiction. She defended what could not defend itself, not from sentiment, but from recognition of function. Young life, unspoiled terrain, promises freely chosen. These were not fragile, they were foundational. Violation of foundation invites collapse. And collapse, once begun, spreads without discrimination. Thus she intervened where imbalance threatened permanence. Not always visible, often not at all, but when lines were crossed knowingly, presence becomes undeniable. There are moments when silence carries more weight than proclamation. She lived in that space. Travelers in ancient forces spoke of sudden stillness, as though the world paused to observe them. They described awareness, not hostile, yet unmistakably attentive. Some turned back and some proceeded. Those who proceeded carried with them the consequence of their intent. She did not impose morality. She revealed alignment. Her twin, radiant bearer of daylight, moved across the heavens, revealing what shadow concealed, aka Apollo. Where he illuminated, she preserved. Where he warned, she clarified. Together they formed continuity, not opposition, but completion. Light without boundary blinds, and boundary without light suffocates, and between them existed rhythm. Just so you guys know, if you guys aren't confused, Apollo is Artemis's twin, so they're totally different. They're totally different, right, guys? But like, even this relationship did not soften her resolve, because affection did not alter principle. Love did not dilute clarity. She was capable of bond without surrender. This too unsettled those who equated connection with compromise. Time unfolded in layers around her, and civilizations rose, constructing laws to mimic the order they sensed in nature. Yet their laws required enforcement, interpretation, and forgiveness, and they bent under pressure of desire. Her law did not bend because it was not constructed, it was recognized. And mortals sought to appease her through ritual, offerings left at forest edges, prayers whispered beneath moonlight, and vows sworn in her name. And she neither accepted nor rejected them. She only acknowledged intention. Intention shaped outcome more than tribute ever could. There were those who revered her as protector of the vulnerable. There were those who feared her as a bringer of irreversible fate. Both were correct, because protection and consequence are not opposites. They are aspects of the same principle. To guard something sacred is to refuse violation. To refuse violation is to enact consequence. Her arrows were not expressions of anger. They were decisions made visible. Once released, they did not hesitate, because hesitation belongs to uncertainty. But she had none. And yet she was not without depth. Beyond judgment, within her existed a quietness that was not emptiness, but completeness. She required no validation because she did not measure herself against others. She didn't compare, and she didn't compete. Comparison breeds resentment, and resentment seeks change. But Athena sought only alignment. Many myths speak of her as unforgiving. But what is forgiveness to one who never confuses intention with accidents? She distinguished ignorance from violation, and the ignorant were corrected through experience. The defiant were transformed through consequence. And so she did not pursue transgression, because transgression approached her. Transgression approached her. There were nights where she stood upon ridges overlooking valleys filled with sleeping life, humans, animals, growing things unseen beneath soil. And she watched not as guardian who fears loss, but as witness who ensures continuity. The world did not belong to her, but rather it belonged to her preservation. If this story stirred something in you, there are many more myths waiting. Tell me in the comments which myth you want next, and until the next tale, stay curious.